I first started when I was a high school senior. It was long before I think they even had this post-secondary type of program that they have today. And I ended up getting an Associate in Arts from Lakeland Community College. After that, I went on, I got my bachelor's degree from Kent State University. But Lakeland was very helpful in the beginning because back then it was a liberal arts degree. I needed those first basic 2 years. The other thing Lakeland did for me at the time was introduce me to journalism. My first career was as a newspaper reporter. And so I worked for the Lakelander News magazine newspaper when I was here. Took some journalism classes that they offered back then. So I kind of got a taste for journalism. And that's what I pursued when I went to Kent State. I wanted to go back for an advanced degree and decided to go back to law, building back upon the journalism background that I had. When I'd been a newspaper reporter, I had covered various trials at the local courthouse here in Lake County. And that led me back to saying, well, you know, I think I'd like to get my law degree. So then I went to Cleveland Marshall and got my degree in law. I think the interesting thing about being a paralegal and doing anything in law is that you don't have to come from a purely English background or writing background, which I did. I was fortunate that I did, but you don't have to. Many of the students that we get are, some of them are recent high school graduates who are thinking they might go into law. They like to write, they like to do research, they think it's interesting. We have some folks who are interested in the law in general because they've seen some really interesting television trials. You know, after there's a big trial like Casey Anthony, then people are really interested in the law again. O.J. Simpson, if we're going back even farther. And they think that's really fascinating. So some people come in with that interest, but the driving force is they have an interest in law. There's a very specific way that lawyers think. There's a certain amount of legal analysis that needs to be done. It's a different way of thinking than the average citizen out there. So through the teaching that I do, I hope to teach them this way of doing legal analysis, this way of thinking. Also the way of doing legal research that we need from our paralegals and our researchers. The lawyers in my office, for example, they're in court every day, day in and day out. They don't have time to do the legal research and the legal writing that my researchers can do for them. So as a teacher, when I'm teaching them paralegal classes, I know what I need because that's what we need at work every day. So I try to focus them on how to do legal research, which is a different type of research than they're used to doing, how to use the legal materials, and then how to take what they found and turn it into a legal document, which is a whole different way of writing than what many people are used to. The other thing is just a knowledge of the legal system in general, specifically for us too, the criminal law system. And I teach a criminal law class here so that I can instill in them some of the basics of the criminal justice system. The idea for the students is just to give them real world experience, to set them up with what it's really like out there, and so that when they leave, they're, I think, ahead of others because they've gotten some real life experience and they've been taught by a teacher who does it every day and who knows what the attorneys expect. And we brought on our first Lakeland intern, and we were very pleased with what happened out of that. It was just such a positive experience. They were well prepared for what we needed them to do as lawyers, what we needed our researchers to do. So we just have kept doing it through the years. It's been more than 20 years that we've been doing it. We've had dozens of Lakeland paralegal interns that have come through who have gotten the specific background and education they need from the paralegal program. Then a number of them we've ended up hiring. Some have gone on to law school and been hired. Some have been hired as paralegals. The job outlook at this point in time, I think, actually is better for paralegals than it is for lawyers. And the reason for that is because of the recent, when the economy tanked, a lot of the law firms were letting go of lawyers. They cost more money. They can bring in paralegals and that can do the same legal research and writing if they're skilled and they have the experience for a lot less money. So we saw a lot of lawyers getting shipped out, paralegals kind of fitting into those positions for the legal research and the legal writing angle of it. So for them, I think the outlook was strong. Most of the folks who've done an internship with me, as far as I know, have landed in positions. I've been getting calls from potential employers wanting to know how they did on their internship, wanting to know the basics. Were they punctual? Did they show up? Are they a good researcher and writer? Would you recommend hiring them? So I think a lot of them are landing positions. The law is really fascinating. So it's one thing I hope that I give them when they're with me is that they walk away knowing, that you can love the law and you can work in it every day and you can make a career out of it. I have for over 20 years, so I hope that they walk away with the same thing.